The silent frontier. The stars hung like distant lanterns against the void as the UNHS Mercy's hand drifted through the silence of deep space. The vessel's pristine white hull gleamed under the light of a distant sun, its Red Cross emblems visible from every angle, a universal symbol of aid and sanctuary. Captain Maya Chen stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the navigation display where a blinking amber dot pulsed steadily. "Status update on the distress signal, Lieutenant," she said, her voice carrying the calm authority that had earned her command of Earth's most advanced medical vessel. Lieutenant Davy Rodriguez tapped at his console. "Signal remains consistent, Captain. Origin appears to be a small colony vessel of unknown configuration. Life support systems critical, approximately 48 hours remaining at current degradation rate." Maya nodded, brushing a strand of dark hair from her face. "Distance to intercept: 3 hours at current velocity." The Mercy's hand had been patrolling the border regions of human space when they received the distress call, weak, desperate, and originating from an area known as the Veiled Expanse. Few human ships ventured there. It wasn't prohibited, merely unexplored and lacking in resources that would justify the journey. "Dr. Okafor," Maya called over her shoulder to the ship's chief medical officer. "Prepare your teams for possible multiple casualties. Environmental adaptation protocols may be necessary if they're non-humanoid." Dr. Nkechi Okafor nodded, her fingers already dancing across her tablet. "Teams are prepping isolation wards and universal stabilization equipment. We'll be ready." The Mercy's hand was a marvel of human engineering, a hospital ship equipped with technology designed to heal nearly any known species in the galaxy. No weapons, no military-grade shields, just a vessel built solely to save lives. Its mission embodied humanity's ideals: knowledge, compassion, and an unflinching determination to help those in need. As they approached the coordinates, the distress signal grew stronger, more urgent. "Visual contact in 30 seconds, Rodriguez announced. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a small vessel adrift among floating debris. Its hull was scorched, with visible ruptures along its port side. Emergency lights pulsed weakly through fractured viewports. Maya leaned forward. "Life signs." "Confirmed," replied the sensor officer. "Multiple readings, but they're weak and erratic. Atmosphere inside is deteriorating rapidly." "Take us in closer. Prepare docking procedures on the starboard emergency airlock. It appears to be their only intact entry point." The Mercy's hand moved with deliberate precision, positioning itself alongside the damaged vessel. Through the viewports, Maya could see movement inside. Desperate faces pressed against the transparent steel, hands reaching out. "Captain," Rodriguez said suddenly, his voice tense, "I'm detecting energy signatures. Multiple vessels just dropped out of FTL behind the colony ship." Maya turned sharply. "Identify." Before Rodriguez could answer, the view screen filled with new arrivals, sleek, angular ships with hulls that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Their design was unlike anything in Earth's extensive sinological database. "Open communications," Maya ordered. "Broadcast on all frequencies." Rodriguez nodded. "Channel open." "Attention unidentified vessels." Maya spoke clearly, her voice steady. "This is Captain Maya Chen of the United Nations hospital ship Mercy's Hand. We are responding to a distress call from this colony vessel. We are an unarmed medical ship on a humanitarian mission. Do you require assistance?" Silence stretched across the bridge. The dark ships maintained their position, neither advancing nor retreating. "No response on any channel," Rodriguez reported. Maya frowned. "Repeat the message." "Add translation matrices for all known languages." As Rodriguez complied, Dr. Okafor approached the captain's chair. "Maya, I don't like this. Something feels wrong." Before Maya could respond, the tactical officer's console erupted with alarms. "Energy spike. They're powering weapons." Maya stood abruptly. "Broadcast emergency protocols. Make it clear we are an unarmed medical vessel protected under Galactic Concordat Article 7. The first shot came without warning, a lance of blue-white energy that sliced through space and struck the Mercy's hand along its medical bay. The ship shuddered violently, throwing crew members to the deck as emergency systems wailed. "Damage report," Maya shouted over the chaos. "Direct hit to Deck 4. Medical Bay 2 is breached. Emergency force fields activated, but they're not holding." On the view screen, the dark ships were moving into attack formation, surrounding both the Mercy's hand and the colony vessel. "Captain, it was a trap," Rodriguez said, his face pale with realization. "The distress signal, it matches their energy signature." Maya's mind raced. The Mercy's hand carried 2,000 crew members. Doctors, nurses, engineers, and support staff. No military personnel, no defensive capabilities beyond basic shields designed to protect against space debris. "Emergency transmission to Earth Command," she ordered. "Priority Alpha. Include all sensor data on the attacking vessels." Another blast rocked the ship, more powerful than the first. Lights flickered across the bridge as primary systems failed. "Communications are down," Rodriguez shouted, trying to reroute through emergency systems. Dr. Okafor's voice came through the ship-wide comm. "Captain, we have multiple casualties. Medical Bay 2 is gone. 20 medical staff unaccounted for. We need evacuation orders." Maya gripped the edge of her console. "All personnel to escape pods. Priority evacuation for patients and medical staff." But even as she gave the order, she knew it was futile. On the view screen, the dark ships were methodically targeting the Mercy's hand's escape pod bays, destroying them one by one. "They know exactly where to hit us," Maya whispered, the realization settling like ice in her stomach. "This isn't random. They know this ship's configuration." The bridge shook again as another blast struck the hull. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Hull breach on decks 2 through 6, the tactical officer reported. "Life support failing shipwide." Maya made her decision. "Rodriguez, are any communication systems still functional?" "Emergency quantum entanglement transmitter is still online. Single use only. Transmit everything, all sensor data, all visual recordings, ship's logs. Full satellite uplink to Earth Command." Rodriguez worked frantically at his console. "Transmitting now." Maya activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is Captain Chen. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. This is not a random attack. They targeted our medical facilities first. To anyone who survives, remember what happened here. Remember that we came to help." The view screen showed one of the dark ships moving into position directly ahead of the Mercy's hand, its weapon ports glowing with building energy. Maya took a deep breath. "Transmission status complete," Rodriguez confirmed. "Earth Command acknowledges receipt." "Good." Maya straightened her uniform, standing tall on the bridge of her dying ship. "It has been an honor serving with all of you." The final blast struck the bridge directly. In the vacuum of space, there was no sound as the Mercy's hand broke apart, fragments of the once pristine vessel scattering among the stars. General Adrian Voss stood motionless before the holographic display in Earth Command's Situation Room. The recording played again, Captain Chen's final transmission, followed by the destruction of the Mercy's hand. Surrounding her, military officers and civilian officials watched in stunned silence. "Confirmed casualties?" she asked, her voice tight. Admiral Takashi Himura, commander of Earth's Third Fleet, consulted his tablet. 2,013 personnel. No survivors detected. And we have no record of these attackers in our databases. None, General. Their ship design and energy signatures don't match any known species. Voss's eyes never left the display, where the final moments of the Mercy's hand played in an endless loop. They targeted the medical bays first, then the escape pods. They wanted no survivors. Yes, the attack pattern suggests detailed knowledge of human vessel design, specifically our medical ships. The room fell silent again, the implications hanging heavy in the air. For over a century, humanity had maintained a policy of minimal military presence in space. After the Unification Wars, Earth had turned its focus inward, rebuilding its ecosystems and society. Their ships that ventured into the stars were primarily scientific, diplomatic, or humanitarian. The Mercy's Hand had been the pinnacle of that philosophy, a vessel designed solely to heal, to help, to represent the best of what humanity had become. And now it was gone, deliberately destroyed by an enemy that had targeted the defenseless. General Voss finally turned to face the assembled leaders. "Initiate Protocol Lazarus." A ripple of shock passed through the room. Admiral Immerse stepped forward. "General, Protocol Lazarus hasn't been activated since the Unification Wars. The sleeping fleets." "I know what I'm authorizing, Admiral," Voss cut him off. "They didn't just attack a ship. They attacked doctors, nurses, people who had sworn to help any life form in need. They specifically targeted our healers." Her voice hardened. "And they will learn why that was a mistake." Across Earth's solar system, deep in the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, in hidden bases on Mars and beneath Earth's oceans, ancient systems began to power up. Ships that had been dormant for decades stirred to life, their weapons and defenses far beyond what the modern galaxy believed humans possessed. Far from Earth, Commander Elena Reeves received the alert on her small exploration vessel. The message was brief, but its meaning was clear. "Protocol Lazarus. Full military activation. Report for duty." Elena stared at the screen, her heart pounding. She opened a secondary message, the full report on the destruction of the Mercy's Hand. As she read through the casualty list, a name jumped out at her: Dr. Nkechi Okafor. Elena's fingers trembled as she closed the file. Nkechi had been her wife's sister, the last of her family. She set a course for Earth, her grief hardening into resolve. The galaxy had forgotten that before humans had become healers and explorers, they had been warriors. They were about to be reminded. Retribution's edge. The UNDF Nemesis dropped out of FTL, its massive silhouette blotting out distant stars as it decelerated. Behind it, 30 other warships emerged in perfect formation, vessels that most of the galaxy didn't know existed. Unlike the gleaming white medical ships that had represented humanity for decades, these were dark, angular, and bristling with weapon systems that had been outlawed in most civilized sectors. Commander Elena Reeves stood on the bridge of the Nemesis, her gray uniform crisp against her tall frame. The stars on her collar, hastily added during the rapid recommissioning, caught the light as she moved to the tactical display. "Status report," she ordered, her voice carrying across the suddenly quiet bridge. "All ships accounted for and in formation, Commander," replied Lieutenant Commander Sato. "Weapon systems online. Shields at maximum capacity." Elena nodded. "And the coordinates?" "We're approaching the last known position of the Mercy's Hand. ETA 3 minutes. The fleet had mobilized with shocking speed. Within 24 hours of the attack, Earth's dormant military, hidden since the end of the Unification Wars, had assembled and launched. Ships that had been maintained in secret, crews that had trained in silence, all emerging like ghosts from humanity's warrior past. Elena studied the tactical display where a red marker indicated the attack coordinates. Her eyes were hollow from lack of sleep, but her mind remained razor-sharp. She had spent the journey studying every second of footage from the Mercy's Hand, analyzing the attack patterns, searching for any weakness in the enemy strategy. "Commander," called out the sensor officer, "we're detecting debris field ahead, consistent with a ship the size of the Mercy's Hand." "Full scan," Elena ordered. "I want to know if there's anything unusual about the debris pattern." As the Nemesis approached, the main view screen displayed the scattered remains of what had once been humanity's foremost medical vessel. Fragments of white hull plating, twisted medical equipment, and occasionally more somber remains. Elena's jaw tightened. She had forced herself to memorize the crew manifest of the Mercy's Hand -2013 names. Doctors, nurses, Engineers. People who had dedicated their lives to saving others. People like Nkechi. Ma'am, the sensor officer's voice broke through her thoughts. I'm detecting anomalous energy readings from several debris fragments. Identify. They appear to be tracking devices, embedded in specific pieces of the Mercy's hand. Alina's eyes narrowed. They're monitoring the wreckage. They want to know who comes looking. She turned to communications. All ships, passive sensors only. Maintain emission control. Lieutenant Commander Sato approached, lowering his voice. You think they'll come back, Commander? I'm counting on it, Alina replied. But first, we need to understand who we're dealing with. She turned to the science officer. Analysis of the attack pattern from the Mercy's hand data. The science officer brought up a detailed holographic display. The attackers demonstrated intimate knowledge of human medical vessel design. They specifically targeted life support, medical bays, and escape pod launch systems in that order. That's not opportunistic, Alina murmured. That's methodical elimination. Equals there's more, the science officer continued. The energy signatures from their weapons matched those from 3 other attacks on medical ships in the past year, all reported as accidents or unexplained disappearances. Alina's blood ran cold. This wasn't the first time. No, ma'am. But the previous victims were smaller vessels with limited communication capabilities. The Mercy's hand was the first large enough to get a distress signal back to Earth. The tactical officer suddenly straightened at his console. Commander, multiple contacts dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. The view screen shifted to show 7 vessels materializing against the blackness of space, the same sleek, light-absorbing ships that had destroyed the Mercy's hand. They took the bait, Alina said softly. All ships, maintain emission control. Let them think we're a salvage crew. The enemy vessels moved with predatory grace, spreading out to surround what they believed was an isolated research or recovery vessel. On the tactical display, Alina watched as they followed the exact same attack pattern they had used against the Mercy's hand. Now we know, she said. It's not opportunistic. It's hunting. She straightened, addressing the bridge crew. These aren't random pirates. This is a species that specifically targets medical vessels. They lure them in with false distress signals, then eliminate all witnesses. Her voice hardened. They prey on Mercy. As the enemy ships closed in, Alina gave the order that would change the course of galactic history. All ships, weapons free. Execute battle plan Hippocrates. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The human fleet dropped their electronic camouflage and powered, surged through weapon systems that had been dormant for generations. The Nemesis fired first, a concentrated beam of energy that sliced through the lead enemy vessel before its crew could react. The battle erupted across the void. The enemy ships, now identified in Earth's tactical systems as belonging to the Kryvax Collective, responded with surprising speed, but their shock was evident in their disorganized movements. They had expected to find another helpless medical ship. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Alina watched the tactical display with cold calculation. Target their engines first. I want prisoners. The human fleet moved with precision, born from centuries of warfare before their peaceful turn. What the galaxy had forgotten, what even humans themselves had chosen to leave behind, was that before they had become healers, humans had been terrifyingly effective at destruction. One of the Kryvax vessels attempted to flee, engaging its FTL drive. The Nemesis locked on and fired a specialized projectile, a technology thought abandoned after the Unification Wars. The projectile attached to the enemy ship's hull and emitted a dampening field that collapsed the forming FTL bubble. Disabled one, reported Lieutenant Commander Sato. Their engines are offline. Boarding teams, prepare for deployment, Alina ordered. I want information more than I want their destruction. As the battle continued around them, the Nemesis maneuvered alongside the disabled Kryvax vessel. Armored boarding shuttles launched from concealed bays, carrying soldiers equipped with technology that had been refined in secret for decades. Elena watched on the tactical display as the boarding operation commenced. Within minutes, her troops had secured the enemy bridge. The ship's commander, a gaunt, pale being with clustering sensory organs where eyes should be, was brought before a video link. "I am Commander Elena Reeves of the United Nations Defense Fleet," she said, her voice steady. "You will explain why your people have been targeting human medical vessels." The alien commander seemed to shudder, either from fear or laughter. Elena couldn't tell. When it spoke, the translation system converted its clicking speech into flat, emotionless English. "Your healers are contagion. They spread weakness. Help those who should be culled. Nature demands strength." Elena leaned forward. "You target medical ships because they offer help to species you think should die out naturally." "Strength through selection," the alien replied. "Galaxy was pure before humans brought there. Mercy." It spat the word like a curse. Elena's expression remained impassive, but inside, something hardened further. "You've fundamentally misunderstood us," she said quietly. "Our mercy wasn't weakness. It was choice." She turned to Lieutenant Commander Sato. "We have what we need. Complete the operation." Within an hour, the battle was over. 5 Kryvax vessels destroyed, 2 captured intact with their crews secured in detention. The human fleet had sustained minimal damage. Their technology was decades beyond what the galaxy believed they possessed. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Elena studied the data recovered from the captured vessels. The Kryvax collective was larger than initially thought, a species that had evolved through brutal natural selection and believed that helping the weak violated cosmic law. They had been systematically eliminating medical vessels from multiple species, but had found humans particularly offensive because of their dedication to healing anyone in need. "They have a central command structure," Elena reported to the assembled fleet captains. "A homeworld protected by a defensive network designed to prevent exactly the kind of retribution we're planning." "Can we penetrate their defenses?" asked Captain Deng of the UNDF Requiem. Elena displayed the tactical assessment. "Not with conventional approaches. Their detection grid will see us coming light years away." "Then we withdraw and prepare a larger force," suggested another captain. "No," Elena's response was immediate. "They believe we're weak because we choose to heal rather than harm. They'll see withdrawal as confirmation." She brought up a new display, a schematic of the Mercy's hand. "We use what they think they know against them." 3 weeks later, a white vessel with Red Cross emblems appeared at the edge of Kryvax space. Its transponder identified it as a human medical ship responding to outbreaks of disease on nearby worlds. It moved slowly, apparently unaware it had drifted too close to forbidden territory. In the Kryvax command center, sensors detected the approaching vessel. "Another human mercy ship," the detection officer reported with disdain. The commander flicked a sensory appendage. "Prepare intercept vessels. Standard elimination protocol." What the Kryvax failed to notice was that this particular medical ship was transmitting on frequencies their sensors couldn't detect. What they couldn't see was that the vessel's hull, while appearing standard white composite, contained elements that absorbed and redirected their scanning beams. What they didn't know was that this was no longer a vessel of peace. As the Kryvax attack ships surrounded the apparent medical vessel, they followed their established pattern, moving into position to target life support systems first. Inside the disguised UNDF Trojan, Commander Elena Reeves gave the order. Now, the white hull plates retracted, revealing weapon ports that had been concealed beneath. Before the Kryvax ships could react, the Trojan fired, not with conventional weapons, but with specialized missiles that attached to their hulls, and began broadcasting the location of every Kryvax ship to the waiting human fleet. Simultaneously, throughout Kryvax space, the debris they had so carefully collected from previous attacks, debris they had arrogantly displayed as trophies in their outposts, activated. Hidden within fragments of destroyed medical ships were quantum transmitters that began disrupting their defense grid. The Kryvax commander watched in horror as their vaunted detection system failed, revealing 30 human warships already positioned throughout their territory. Alina's voice came through on all Kryvax frequencies. You targeted our healers because you thought compassion was weakness. You failed to understand a fundamental truth about humanity. The human fleet opened fire with surgical precision, not at population centers, but at military installations, weapon platforms, and shipyards. We choose peace not because we cannot fight, Alina continued, but because we know too well what happens when we do. Within hours, the Kryvax military capability had been reduced to pre-spaceflight levels. Their fleet destroyed, their defenses shattered, their leadership in disarray. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Alina gazed at the tactical display, showing the now defenseless Kryvax homeworld. "Prepare the final transmission," she ordered. The message was broadcast to every Kryvax communication device. "You hunted those who came to heal. You killed those who meant you no harm. We could destroy you completely for this transgression, but that is not our way." The view screen showed images of the Mercy's Hand, of Dr. Nkechi Okafor treating an injured child, of medical teams from a dozen worlds working together. "Instead, we leave you with this knowledge. We are watching. If you venture beyond your world again with weapons, we will know. If you harm another healer, of any species, we will return." With that, the human fleet disappeared into FTL, leaving behind a network of automated sentinels to ensure the Kryvax kept to their new boundaries. In the following months, rumors spread throughout the galaxy about humanity's response to the attack on their medical vessel. Species that had known humans only as peaceful explorers and dedicated healers now understood the duality at their core, the sleeping warrior that protected the healer's hand. On Earth, memorial services were held for the crew of the Mercy's Hand. Captain Maya Chen and her crew were honored not just as victims, but as the embodiment of humanity's highest ideals. Commander Alina Reeves stood before the memorial wall, her fingers tracing the name of Dr. Nkechi Okafor. Around her, the newly reformed United Nations Defense Fleet prepared for its new role. Not conquest, not expansion, but the solemn duty to ensure that throughout the galaxy, those who came to heal could do so without fear. "The galaxy will remember," Alina whispered to the memorial. "Not just what happened to you, but what it means to target those who heal. Never again." Across the stars, the message was received with crystal clarity. Earth's mercy was a choice, not a weakness, and those who mistook it for vulnerability did so at their peril.